Hello, and welcome to this virtual presentation with Superintendent David James, who will deliver his final State of the Akron Public Schools message today. Dr. James will retire this summer after 13 years as superintendent and 29 years with the school district. Thank you for joining us. My name is Carla Davis, and I am president of the Akron Press Club. The Akron Press Club was founded in 1971 to promote a free press and to serve local journalists and public relations professionals. Your support for the Akron Press Club helps us to present programs that keep the community informed and engaged and provide scholarships for journalists and public relations students. We are coming to you virtually today because the Press Club has not been able to hold traditional lunch programming during this COVID-19 pandemic. Our lunches fund scholarships for journalism and public relations students, but like many organizations, our revenues have felt the impact of COVID. That is why we are asking you to consider a donation to the Press Club to fund scholarships. Between the Press Club and the John S. Knight Memorial Scholarship Fund, scholarships of $5,000 were awarded to 9 students in 2020. These scholarships make a difference to the students who receive them. To donate to the Press Club scholarships, go to our website, akronpressclub.org. There you will find an item with the headline, Help the Press Club Fund Scholarships. Click on the headline and you will find details on how to make a donation. Again, that is akronpressclub.org. Also, please check the website for upcoming Press Club events. Now on to today's speaker. The moderator for today's virtual presentation is Bruce Wingus, Akron Press Club board member and past president. Bruce held a number of positions at the Beacon Journal during his 37-year career and was editor and vice president from 2007 until his retirement in 2019. Let us welcome Bruce. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the speech today, and I will let you know that there will be the opportunity to ask questions following Dr. James's speech. Those questions may be sent via email to the Press Club 2021 at gmail.com. That's all one word, pressclub2021 at gmail.com. David James became superintendent of the Akron Public Schools in 2008. He was not a conventional candidate for the position in that his experience came from the operational side of things, but he was more than up to leading the school system. Here are a few of the highlights of his career. He supervised an $800 million building and renovation project that turned Akron schools into community learning centers. It was the largest such building project in the school system's history. Under Dr. James's leadership, the district implemented the college and career academies, which provided students with the chance to focus on an educational goal and guide their high school experience. APS also has a strong relationship with the University of Akron through the LeBron James Foundation School of Education. And then there's the I Promise School, a partnership with the LeBron James Family Foundation that has become a blueprint for how public education can change the lives of students and their families. Dr. James attended Cleveland State University, earning a bachelor's degree in economics, a master's degree in public administration. He also has been recognized for his leadership over the years. Here are a few of his awards. He received the Ohio Superintendent Outstanding Performance Award from the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation. received the Glass Half Full Award from the GAR Foundation. And from 2017 through 2018, he was president of the Buckeye Association of School Administrators. Received a Community Service Award from Project Grad, and he's a recipient of the Harold K. Stubbs Humanitarian Award in Education. David James has led the Akron Public Schools through levies and finally a pandemic. One more thing I need to mention, throughout his time as superintendent, the Akron Press Club has sponsored Dr. James's annual State of the Akron Schools speech. That partnership has allowed the Press Club to raise thousands of dollars for journalism and communication students going to college over the years. We thank you for that. Thank you very much. Well, that's a lot for this long career, and that's probably the longest introduction I've done for a while. So please welcome Dr. David James to the Akron Press Club.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and welcome to my 2021 State of the Akron Public Schools address. Now, lucky for me, I have a backup here. We're having some technology issues, so probably halfway through the presentation, I'll have to read it from paper. But overall, it's good to be with you. It's good to be here with you today. And this is my last State of the Schools address for Akron Public Schools as superintendent. Again, a role that I've served in for the past 13 years. So today, I want to focus on a little bit of what has changed over that time and then provide a few updates on our schools. When COVID struck, we adopted a temporary brand. And although we've always been adaptive, responsive, and supportive, never more has that applied than in this past calendar year. To underscore the many ways that we have been adaptive, responsive, and supportive, I want to call your attention to the flip book that summarizes our approach this past year as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of you have been sent a link to these materials, and they will also appear on our website after my speech. Again, thank you, Bruce Wingus and the Akron Press Club for sponsoring this event for years now. And again, just to be clear, the email address, if you want to ask questions, is pressclub2021@gmail.com. Today, I would like to acknowledge our school board members, Dr. N.J. Akbar, our board president, Dr. Derek Hall, board vice president, Bruce Alexander, Diana Autry, Patrick Bravo, Lisa Mansfield, and Valerie McKittrick. Also, our student school board members, Kyrese Brunson from East CLC, Madison Dees from Firestone CLC, Chandler Forshee from Kenmore Garfield High School, D'Essence Jackson from Bucktown CLC, Abigail Kearns from Ellett CLC, Michaela Perryman from North High School, Salam Saeed from Akron Early College High School, Shaheen Williams from the National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM High School. I want to thank you all for your leadership. All I can say is, wow, what a difference a year makes. In my wildest dreams, I never envisioned making this speech virtually. And I know we've all grown a little tired of the isolation and the lack of in-person interaction with our peers. But thank you all for joining us. I'm told we have over 500 people watching online with us today. And look, some of you didn't have to get dressed up or venture out into the cold, so I guess we're all lucky. It's amazing how nearly 30 years can go by in a flash. And actually, I have a prompt here. I have a box of Kleenex in case I'm driven to tears. And, you know, by the hundreds of happy, sad, funny, and so many other memories of our time together. So first, why choose to retire? Okay, for those of you who don't really know me, this is my attempt at humor, all right? So no, I have not found a way to embezzle millions of dollars to buy a tropical escape. With the state auditor's office and our books every year, I wouldn't get too far with that one. nor none of the things that seem to drive people away: poor relationships, constant negative headlines in the paper, or embarrassing social media posts. None of that is for me. The reality is, I made a promise years ago to try and lead with integrity and respect and not overstay my welcome. To me, that's a very important aspect of leadership. You have to plan for and know when to exit, because no leader can be everything an organization needs, because over time, the organization changes and so does the leader. And with reflection, a leader will know when it's time to go, to turn over that role to another, so the organization can continue to grow, flourish, and achieve higher levels of performance. You see, it's not about the individual, it's about the collective. All of the people who make up the Akron Public Schools, including all of you, deserve the right leader for the right time. Back in 2008, maybe that was me. But I venture to say the jury is still out, because legacies are formed long after the leader exits. Why? Because leaders during their tenure start many things but actually complete few. The foundation may be laid, but the house has yet to be completed. In early fall, I was sitting in my office, actually reviewing some past speeches of mine, and realized the connection to the idea of planting seeds. And I could not get that idea out of my head. In fact, we have planted many seeds over the years. And anyone who gardens knows that sometimes those seeds flourish and grow into plants that bear fruit, and other times we're not so lucky. So the work in our collective garden, so to speak, has always been about improving our community, providing opportunities for our children so they can learn, grow, and become. And I'll call this part of my speech, Little Did I Know. So little did I know back in 2010 that the first cohort of students in our Project Lead the Way bioscience class at North High School would set the foundation for our vision of the College and Career Academies of Akron. You see, using a career-themed lens to teach students, is part of what our partnership with Forward Next Generation Learning is all about. And speaking of Forward NGL, it was a news article that popped up on my computer screen some years ago by accident that outlined what Metropolitan Nashville Schools was doing with their academies. And that led me to the motto in the first place. Just think what would have happened if I would have just ignored that article. Little did I know that way back in 2002, when I met the likes of the late Tony Garant, Lynn Smith, Lou Serraldo, Brad Schroeder, and others on our Business Advisory Council, that these relationships would help me understand the needs of our local businesses and provide the foundation for all the outstanding business partnerships within the Akron Public Schools today. And little did I know that our agreement with the Akron Education Association back in 2010 to sign the Memorandum of Understanding to participate in the federal Race to the Top program would prepare Akron Public Schools for so many other transformational changes in our schools in partnership with our excellent teachers. And little did I know that what started out as, I'll just use the term, lively discussion between former Mayor Don Plisquellic in front of my bosses, Dr. Sylvester Small and Donna Loomis at the time, would turn into a fruitful relationship to rebuild our schools as community centers, community learning centers. And on August 1st of 2008, as I stood in the office upstairs at 70 North Broadway, I actually called my mom and dad and I said, what did I get myself into here? It was so overwhelming to be named the 22nd superintendent of our schools. And little did I know that my relationships with so many of you across the community would enrich my life so much. So during my tenure, there have been many ups and downs, opening new schools, closing schools, facing upset parents, students, staff that their beloved buildings had closed, the heartbreaking stories as well, attending the memorial service at East High School for Marine Corporal Derek A. Wyatt, who lost his life in 2010 while serving our country in Afghanistan, to the many services over the years to mourn the loss of our students, staff, and family members, and the loss of important community members like Phil Maynard, Dwayne Isham, and others who have had a major impact on our community, to the death of Nakia Crawford and other young people due to senseless acts of violence. They all weigh heavily on our hearts, and they all impact our schools. And of course, there are the happy times, the annual May Festival, our annual science fair where students get to show off their knowledge, bands in the round, and hundreds of other ways students do showcase their talents. They're a wonderful testament to them and their teachers. And speaking of teachers, our annual Teacher of the Year banquet has been a highlight every year, honoring our dedicated educators. In fact, I want to mention our current Teacher of the Year, Maggie Oliver from Helen Arnold CLC. We had a tremendous audience last spring while we were all isolated for our first virtual Teacher of the Year celebration. And Maggie, please know how much we wish it could have been done in another way with more of a celebration, but we know you understand. And you are a wonderful teacher who inspires children and other educators. Thank you and congratulations. My fondest memories, though, are those in which our seniors cross the stage at graduation. After all, our most important work is ensuring that our students are prepared for what comes next. So looking to the future, I want to reflect on what I believe are the needs of our children in terms of their learning today and in the years ahead. When many of us old-timers went to school, we had to memorize so many facts and figures. I remember in 4th grade in Mrs. Hunter's class at Mount Pleasant Elementary School in Cleveland trying to memorize my times tables. Being able to recognize states on a map, memorizing state capitals, or the formula for the quadratic equation in 8th grade algebra at Nathan Hale Junior High School in Cleveland. Yes, so much had to be crammed into our brains. Today, however, and more importantly tomorrow, I believe our students need to be equipped to know how to solve complex problems that cross disciplines. All of our core topics in education remain important, but the amount of information today is staggering. In just the last 10 years, we have probably learned more about the universe than all of previous recorded history. And I'm not saying that memorizing facts and figures is not important. What I am saying is that what you do with that information is most important. The connections we make, the inferences we gain from analyzing data and finding solutions to our complex problems is what our students need to know how to do. Today, and more importantly tomorrow, regurgitating facts and figures is not what's needed, but creating new knowledge is. Now, over the last 4 years, we have implemented our college and career academies of Akron. That transformation. As the only school district in the state of Ohio achieving the designation as a forward next-generation learning community, we have brought together nearly 360 business and community partners to help prepare our students for what comes next after graduation. With the support of Forward Next Generation Learning, the United Way of Summit County, the GAR Foundation, Connexus NEO, the Greater Akron Chamber, the Summit Education Initiative, and our business partners, we are in the midst of a transformational change in our community. Our students now have the opportunity to get exposure to the various career fields our local employers have to offer, and will have a better chance to enlist in the military, enroll in college, or gain further employment. On December 9th, we celebrated the addition of Goodyear as a named Academy partner at Ellett CLC and the National Inventors Hall of Fame Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math High School. I'd like to thank Goodyear CEO Rich Kramer and the entire Goodyear staff for your commitment and partnership. Welcome to our College and Career Academies of Akron family. With that, we now have 12 named Academy partnerships. At Buchtel CLC, we have the Summa Health Academy of Leadership and Innovation and the Huntington Academy of Global Industry and Design. At East CLC, we have the Bridgestone Academy of Applied Engineering and Technology and the KeyBank Academy of Business and Health Services. At Ellett CLC, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park Academy of Global Marketing and Media, and again, the Goodyear Academy of Applied Engineering. And at Firestone CLC, 3 Kent State University-sponsored academies, the Academy of Advanced Technology and Engineering, the Academy of Design, and the Academy of Performing Arts. At Kenmore Garfield, the First Energy Academy of Emerging Technology and Design. At North High School, of course, the Akron Children's Hospital Academy of Health and Human Services. And at the National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM High School, the Goodyear Academy of Advanced Technology and Design. And currently, we are looking for 3 additional named Academy partners at the following academies. At Ellett CLC, the Academy of Community Health and Safety, which includes the pathways of animal studies, criminal justice, and fire safety. At Kenmore Garfield, the Academy of Innovation and Industry. The career pathways in that academy include construction and building technology, culinary arts, and nursing and patient care. At North High School, the Academy of Global Technology and Business. And this academy includes the pathways of entrepreneurship and marketing, HVAC technology, IT support services, and programming software development. For more information on being a named Academy partner, go to our website at ccaa.akronschools.com. You will also find our Academy's latest annual report posted there. Our Academy partnerships also include our post-secondary institutions to help meet our goal of increasing the number of students who are ready to enroll in college before they even graduate from high school. So in addition to the 3 academies that are sponsored by Kent State at Firestone CLC, we have added what we call sister university and sister college partnerships as well. The University of Akron is the sister university for Ellett CLC and the National Inventors Hall of Fame STEM High School. Stark State College is the sister college of Kenmore Garfield High School, and the University of Mount Union is the sister university of North High School. And as I stated last year, the goal here is to improve college preparation so more students can succeed at the post-secondary level. With nearly 60 career pathways within our high schools, along with these robust partnerships, there is really no good excuse for our students not to take advantage of these opportunities. And in an effort to better prepare our middle school students for their high school experience, our Board of Education approved the Middle School College and Career Academy Master Plan in December. Over the last year, a steering committee met and developed this master plan, and we want you to know we're not just replicating the high school model. Middle school academies are their own unique creation. We have designed them keeping focus on what middle schoolers will have ahead of them in high school, so they must be different. In middle school, academy learning will promote a positive school climate, integrate social, emotional learning, and shift instruction to an inquiry-based model. Simply put, students and teachers will work in small learning communities. They will solve real-world problems that are driven by community issues and students' own personal interests. We call this thematic learning. They will also be exploring careers, getting an earlier start than ever in Akron Public Schools. And different from the high school academies, in middle school, we will rely heavily on nonprofit and philanthropic organizations to provide career exploration and service learning opportunities. Students will also develop individual plans, including the opportunity to take higher level classes and earn high school credit while in middle school. All of this will help our students become better learners, classmates, and community leaders, prepared to enter the high school academies. I can't imagine where Akron Public Schools would be without the work that is being done by our nonprofit partners. Our key partners who were instrumental in launching our high school academies will continue to be instrumental with our middle school transformation as well. And today we want to acknowledge some of our new partners specifically for the middle schools. The Akron Community Foundation. We know that the Akron Community Foundation is where generous families, individuals, companies, and nonprofits make charitable gifts to go the furthest for the permanent good of our community. ACF has served as a convener for all of our master planning sessions with our middle schools. Additionally, ACF provided funding to launch the middle school transformation, including funding a full-time staff person to coordinate the middle school partnerships with the community. The Martha Holden Jennings Foundation. For more than 60 years, the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation has awarded grants to Ohio schools for a wide variety of projects and initiatives that foster deep learning and excellent teaching. The foundation has been a primary funder of the exploration, planning, and launch of the middle school transformation. I would like to thank John Paturis and the Akron Community Foundation, along with Dr. Dan Keenan and the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation for their support of our expansion of college and career academies of Akron to our middle schools. I also want to send out a special thank you to the GAR Foundation. From our STEM programs to the college and career academies and many more, Christine Mayer and Kirsten Toth have been our thought partners throughout this journey. I can honestly say without the support of the GAR Foundation, none of these programs would be possible. So thank you for standing with us from day one. It should also be noted that we have two new financial partners supporting us in our college and career academy work, the Hewlett Foundation and the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. The United Way of Summit Medina has been awarded a $1.5 million grant from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. These funds will go to Akron Public Schools to build and sustain comprehensive wellness and learning opportunities for students through college and career academies of Akron. This grant will also support educators as they transform teaching and learning practices to ensure that our students are both college and career ready. In addition, the grant will support the development and the expansion of college and career academies into our elementary schools. This will jumpstart a master planning process to create the systems and structures needed to strategically plan and build the infrastructure required to implement that and sustain that vision of making our college and career academies a K-12 transformation. It will propel us to a place that will fulfill our goal of creating a K-12 experience that will be a foundational change for our districts. We have also been awarded a $1.5 million grant from the Hewlett Foundation. This grant will support our strategies to improve student engagement and enlist parent and community support for student learning by sharing information with them in key decisions about schooling. It will also support our educators as they adapt to these unprecedented circumstances. United Way of Summit County will act as fiscal agent for both of these grants. But let's not stop there. This year, we have also successfully added Portage Path Community Learning Center to our International Baccalaureate program family in the Firestone cluster. With the addition of Portage Path CLC, all Firestone cluster schools are now part of the IB family. And yes, I think we should expand our IB programming to other schools as well, so stay tuned. And speaking of expanding, I am really speechless regarding the work of LeBron James and the LeBron James Family Foundation. So it wasn't enough to transition the Wheels for Education program to the I Promise program, then adding the I Promise Scholarship at the University of Akron, and then the I Promise Institute at the University of Akron, and then, of course, the creation of the I Promise School. From there to the I Promise Village, a place where families can have a stable housing environment to get on their feet, at the same time helping our kids. The latest addition is House 330, located at the Tangier, which is being converted to a multi-function community resource space. All I can say is wow. And when you look at the West Hill neighborhood, it is really being transformed. And that transformation doesn't even end there. You know, through the I Promise Huddle, leaders from across the country are learning from our experience here in Akron through an annual program to spread the word and explore promising practices and share experiences on how the We Are Family philosophy can help our communities change for the better. For me, to witness this transformation and the effect it is having on our students and community is utterly amazing. Kudos to LeBron James and Michelle Campbell for their inspiration. Because you see, by bringing great people to the table, we can also drive change across our community. With that being said, I am so proud of our partnership with United Way of Summit and Medina and their vision for a community where all individuals and families achieve their human potential through education, financial stability, and healthy lives. In 2017, United Way established its 4 bold goals for 2025, and 2 of them support education. In support of education under Bold Goal 1, by 2025, 65% of our 3rd graders will be reading at or above grade level. And for Bold Goal 2, by 2025, 90% of our high schoolers will graduate in 4 years, with 60% being college and career ready. In addition, United Way is focused on supporting a variety of financial services within the community. These include the Financial Empowerment Center, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistant Program, Bridges, Summit County, and Bank on Rubber City. The Family Resource Centers operated at our Helen Arnold COC and Robinson COC are locations where people in the surrounding neighborhoods can come and get the resources they need to get by during these difficult times. For our families, the services provided can include health and social services, academic enrichment for their kids, and more, so that our students can succeed, and that's really important. United Way is also expanding the footprint and will open another Family Resource Center at Mickey Bright COC. To Jim Mullen and the entire United Way Summit and Medina Board, thank you for all you do, and not just for Akron Public Schools, but for our entire community. Now, as I stated before, the pandemic has forced many of us to do things a little differently this year, and some of us never miss a beat. I am always impressed with the work of Project Grad Akron and Executive Director Jackie Silas Butler. In October, the annual Achieving Dreams event was virtual, and Jackie figured out how to get the Night Center to cater the food and have it picked up, so patrons only had to drive up, pick it up, and take it home to reheat it. Then, to outdo everyone else, she had Stacey Abrams as the keynote speaker, and those who attended received a copy of her book. All I can say is congratulations on a job well done. And then in December, I noticed in our conference room on the 5th floor of the Sylvester Small Administration Building, it was filled with all these non-perishable items, and I was starting to get hungry. To me, it looked like the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank, which, by the way, under the leadership of Dan Flowers, has done an outstanding job of providing much needed food to our community during this pandemic. At any rate, Jackie and Project Grad provided care packages to the college students who are in the Project Grad scholarship program to help them get by during the winter break. How thoughtful. even though I'm still upset that in 2011, during Cooking for a Cause, my leg of lamb gyros did not beat out sauerkraut balls. Even my daughter Jennifer said it was so unfair as she helped me at that event. But all is forgiven, Jackie, and I promise not to move you again before I retire. Our partners who are focused on student achievement have relied upon Summit Education Initiative, their research and predictive analytics to establish metrics that we all follow to ensure that our students are on track for success. And because of the hard work of Matt Devers and SEI, we know that by the end of freshman year, high school students who earn 6.5 credits, obtain a 3.0 GPA or higher, and miss fewer than 8 days of school are more likely to graduate from high school, college, and career ready. We have seen the percentage of freshman students who have earned those 6.5 credits increase from 41% in 2018 to 64% in 2020. The percentage of high school freshmen with a 3.0 grade point average or higher rose from 26.1% in 2018 to 29.1% in 2020. And the percentage of our students missing 8 days or less from school stands at about 55%, and I'll talk more about attendance later. In addition, out-of-school suspensions have decreased by 12.3% this past year, and our in-school suspensions decreased by 38.1% among our high school freshmen this past year. And based on data from our most recent state report card from 2019 to 2020, our 4-year graduation rate increased from 79.8% to 80.2%. And for our students enrolled in our college and career technical pathway programs, their 4-year graduation rate increased from 94.6% in 2019 to 97.8% in 2020. Last year, I reported that our students earned 1,451 industry credentials before leaving high school in 2019. In 2020, this number dropped to 1,239. And please remember that in March, we went completely virtual. And in 2018, the number of credentials earned was only at 100. So we do have some challenges. And in the 2018-19 school year, our students earned 7,764 college credits while still in high school. And this past year, that number increased to 9,297 credits earned while our students were still in high school. Now, getting back to attendance, last year I reported on our partnership with the Cleveland Browns Foundation on the Stay in the Game attendance initiative. As a reminder, the goal of this program is to raise awareness among our students, their families, and the entire community about the value of getting to and staying in school. In October, the Arby's Foundation provided a grant in the amount of $100,000 to support this effort. The presentation was made during a virtual event attended by APS students and some Cleveland Browns players who discussed how important it is to get to and stay in school. In 2018 and 19, our attendance rate overall for the district stood at 92.3%, and in 2019 and 20, that rate increased to 93.4%. Now, the partnerships I have mentioned are just a few examples of how this community has come together to support our schools. Though we have a history of partnering with outside organizations, today is a far cry from 2008. And there are just too many of you to name who have stepped in and stepped up to the plate to help our students. To everyone that I have met with, collaborated with, and even argued with, I say thank you. Because through those discussions, we have indeed made progress. And I believe this district poses a great opportunity for its next leader. Now, in every career, there are regrets. Things that were not on the radar that you may have missed, and things that could not be accomplished. We all face that in life. The main thing that I regret is really not being able to get that funding from the state of Ohio to renovate or rebuild those schools that we're still using. North High School comes to mind, Kenmore High School, Miller South, Firestone Park, Pfeiffer, and Reedinger. The Ohio School Facilities Commission, or the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, as it is known today, funds our program in relation to our student population. Kenmore Garfield is the last building to be funded with state support and is slated to open in 2022. Any further school construction costs must be borne by Akron Public Schools. And remember, again, our partnership with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission is based on total student enrollment, which has declined from about 31,000 when we started the construction program to about 21,000 students today. We will, however, study these buildings and get estimates of renovation and replacement costs and plans for how they can continue to be utilized. The board has requested the completion of a facility master plan for these buildings, and we will commence that process. And of course, the elephant in the room is COVID-19. And what can I say? You know, during my time here at Akron Public Schools, I have lived through the Ebola scare in 2014, MRSA, H1N1, tuberculosis, foot and mouth disease, head lice, bed bugs, mercury spills, you name it. But nothing like this, where the entire district is shut down and we had to make the switch to virtual learning. The one person who I've come to depend on through all this is Health Commissioner Donna Skoda and her staff at Summit County Public Health. Because you see, over the years, she and I have worked together on every major health crisis that has affected our schools. And it would go like this. I get a call, David, it's Donna, and she asked me if I'm sitting down, so I would sit down. And in every situation, we would talk it through and come up with a plan. And there are some occasions where we would not agree on the approach to the problem, but we would always reach a joint solution. And for that, I say thank you. During the pandemic, I am also so proud of how our educators flipped from in-person learning to online learning in quick fashion last year. To our principals and administrative staff, thank you for putting up with our constantly changing directives, because we were getting constantly changing information. And it's hard to believe that we've been virtual since March. But yes, I do acknowledge that my preference is for our students to be back in school in person. However, I would like to point out that with 21,000 students and nearly 4,000 employees, it's very difficult to reconcile all the risks, opinions, and competing interests, and not just within the schools, but within the community as well, especially in a population that is already at risk because some of them lack adequate access to health care and many of those basic needs that many of us take for granted. For instance, did you know that 30% of children in America are going hungry? That's 1 in 3 children. So let's talk about that, food insecurity. Since last March, our Child Nutrition Department has given out nearly 2 million meals, believe it or not. And they've done it while holding grab-and-go meals in a bag in front of 37 of our community learning centers just about every single day. These meals did not just go to our students. They went to any school-age child living within our city, according to the federal school lunch program. And yes, some of our employees distributing these meals did get sick. And let's remember that the majority of our support staff have been working since last March. In addition to our child nutrition employees, our bus drivers, because we're required to transport charter, community, parochial, and non-public schools, they've been working. Our facilities, ground staff, office support, and more have been working in person since last year, and they've done an excellent job. So now we've started to administer the COVID vaccines to our staff with the help of Akron Children's Hospital. Our plan focused on staff who support our kindergarten through 2nd grade students and students with disabilities first, so they can return to in-person learning. Last week, we were notified that Akron Children's received the balance of the over 3,000 vaccines we requested. That means tomorrow and Saturday, we will administer the first doses to the remaining employees who requested the vaccine. And after the second doses are administered in about 3 weeks, we'll be back to in-person school soon thereafter. The priority is to get all of our educators who are working directly with our students in our schools vaccinated first. We chose 10 North Main as the location because it's centrally located. We have space to operate 2 clinics in this building that can vaccinate more than 60 people per hour. And we have adequate parking. Last week, we started what we call Remote Plus learning. And students selected for Remote Plus are those who've been identified as struggling students or who have special needs. We felt that these students should be transitioned back to school first with 1 or 2 days per week of individualized support from their teachers. And out of 2,800 students identified, we had about 2/3 of them show up, and we'll continue to provide these services through early March, just prior to the return of our teachers to get ready for in-person learning. And for extra support, the past several months, we have offered APS Plus after-hour support. Staff members work here in our engagement center in the evenings and on Saturdays to help families with just about anything they need, including schoolwork. So our current plan for full-time return to in-person learning is to begin with our kindergarten through second graders, as I said before, and some of our special needs students on March 15th. For the remaining students in grades 3 through 12, they will return on March 22nd. We also have a survey out so parents can select whether they want their children to remain remote or come back and attend in person. So from yesterday through February 19th, on our website, parents can fill out a selection form to make their choices known. And based on these parent choices, we will then staff our courses and classrooms for both in-person and virtual courses. Now, I do want to be clear, in some cases, students may not have the same teacher that they had, during virtual learning. But we'll have more information as we get the results of our survey. And you can find, for our parents who are interested, and make sure you do fill out that choice form on our website at akronschools.com. I want to thank our Akron Board of Education members and our staff for working through this pandemic. Everyone has been dedicated and flexible, showing the utmost concern for the safety of our students, staff, and community at large. And for that, you have my eternal gratitude. Looking to the future and coming out of this pandemic, I would like to see us embrace a different type of blended model for education. One where I can envision our classrooms and educational delivery model affording all students a choice between in-person and virtual learning, which gives our students a choice and matches how they want to learn and not how we want to teach. We know that students come to us with a variety of needs. Some of them can actually thrive in that virtual environment, while some do need in-person learning. I envision virtual classes for hard-to-staff topics, for instance, certain foreign languages. Might be more beneficial for some students. If I only have 5 students in the district who want to learn Latin, we might have 1 teacher, but we can pipe the students in. And we may have students who are engaged in paid internships, but they still want to take a class or course. And I think we should be able to allow that. What I'm trying to say is that the sky is the limit. And reaching the other side of this pandemic, it's also opened our eyes to some of the challenges that our students face, and that is the learning loss over the past year. Now, our team is actively working on plans to establish a more robust summer programming period for students who will need to catch up to their peers over the summer. With a focus on literacy and math, we can help students who have fallen behind so they can start the 21-22 school year on a solid foundation. And if you tuned into Governor DeWine's latest update on Tuesday, he has the expectation that we will develop these plans and submit them to the Ohio legislature for review. Our experience with this pandemic, in addition to the protests related to the death of George Floyd has laid bare many of the inequities that exist in our society. And at Akron Public Schools, we are working to identify and eliminate racial disparities related to our policies, our practices, and our teaching. We're committed to ensuring that we have and maintain a diverse workforce throughout the district, and in particular within our teaching staff and our schools. Over the last several years, our Human Resource Department has engaged in various diversity recruitment initiatives through attendance at college and university job fairs, connections with historically Black colleges and universities, direct face-to-face recruitment of diverse applicants, and membership in the Cleveland Area Minority Educators Association. We are also getting current APS students interested in careers in education by establishing future educator clubs at 2 of our high schools, Bucktown CLC and North High School. Our work continues this year with grant opportunities from the Ohio Department of Education to support the APS Grow Your Own program. With this grant, we'll be able to assist current diverse Akron Public Schools employee candidates and help them become teachers for our district. We expect to take advantage of other grant opportunities provided by the Department of Education in the near future. And with the support of our board and community, we will continue to increase the number of diverse staff members so we can better serve our own diverse student population. At the board level, an equity policy, a racial equity policy, and a board level committee devoted to equity, which we're meeting later today, have been established. We've already started the process of implementing organizational changes to better focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our ultimate goal is the establishment of an executive level position to oversee the implementation of this work across the district. The focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion is a change in direction I believe our community sorely needs. And as a member of the Greater Akron Chamber of Commerce, I have witnessed this change of direction over the years. Under the leadership of Steve Millard, I have seen the focus on talent move away from trying to attract people to Akron and Northeast Ohio to a concerted effort to grow our own talent pipelines. Through collaborative efforts such as Elevate Akron and Opportunity Akron, we have also seen a greater focus on providing opportunities to our minority communities that have been excluded from economic growth. Thanks to Mayor Dan Horgan and County Executive Eileen Shapiro for supporting these efforts. And although our work is not done, we are making progress. And now, moving on to the topic of finances, which is probably one of my least favorite topics, but it's nonetheless important. In May of last year, we projected a fiscal year-end deficit of about $15.4 million. By November of 2020, our financial report, we projected a revised deficit of about $2.2 million. Now, with the addition of various COVID-19 relief funds, we're projecting a positive impact on the district's cash balance. In addition, we avoided some expenses this year, particularly in the area of transportation, fuel, and utilities. We've also received more than $14 million in CARES Act funding, including $10 million in ESSER funds, which is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. We're also anticipating another round of ESSER funds, which I think has hit the district recently, in the amount of $42 million. Now, among the uses of these anticipated funds, we're intending to use them for student recovery purposes. It's imperative that, again, that we prepare and maintain an academic recovery plan to ensure that these funds are spent accordingly. And our curriculum team, I really thank them because they've been very proactive in response to this shift to online learning, and they really continue to adapt to a changing environment for our students. So we're developing that comprehensive academic recovery plan to assist students during this extraordinary school year. Costs that we think are approved or approvable will be the intervention during the school day, summer intervention, as I've spoken before. We like to see some after-school hours programming and some social, emotional, and family supports. And while many grants received will help offset the costs, the ESSER funds will pay for the majority of these academic recovery costs. Now, as you are well aware, Akron Public Schools has been discussing the need for additional revenue for more than a year. And I believe as good stewards of taxpayers' dollars, we continue to be flexible and will respond as new information becomes available. We're in the process of updating our forecasts with our January numbers, but we'll need a few more months of data to really show the true impact on the current fiscal year. As explained in our financial forecast and subsequent finance committee meetings, we'll likely finish the year under budget. But again, there is much more to consider before coming to the community for a levy request, including, our return to full in-person instruction, the financial position of the district by the end of the current fiscal year, and again, community support, and how some other issues in the community could affect that support. For instance, how the reappraisals are affecting taxpayers. Finally, I want to say that I was disappointed that in late 2020, the Cup-Patterson Fair School funding plans did not get adopted. However, I'm hopeful that the Ohio House is taking that up again. And the next couple of years will really be difficult for us as we try to reconcile the additional state and federal funding with providing all of these extra student resources so they can overcome this COVID-related learning loss, and then us just paying our bills. But I'm confident that these issues will be resolved thanks to the leadership of our CFO, Ryan Pendleton. Now, moving forward, the school board has encapsulated much of what I've spoken about today in their advanced APS 3 and 3 plan, making progress in 3 priorities in 3 years, covering academic achievement, equity, and engagement. The plan will serve as a guide for the district and the new superintendent to chart a course of action to improve our graduation rate, focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, and increase community engagement efforts. Many seeds have been planted so far, but it will be up to the community to make sure that the garden is properly tended. In closing, yes, this has been a challenging year for me, as well as all of us, actually. And as I reflect on the last 29 years of my life, which has gone by in a flash, it really has, I hope that I've served the community with integrity and respect. It's so funny how you think about all the things that can happen in one's life, and I can honestly say that overall, this has been an enjoyable experience, except for calling a snow day. And to my senior staff, every chance Dr. McWilliams Woods and I get, from national funders to state leaders to our families, we brag about how solid our team is. Through your innovation, drive, my job has been made a whole lot easier. Make no mistake, what has made my journey truly enjoyable is this community and all of you. So no matter where my path will take me, don't ever forget Akron is a very special place and you are very special people. Now, as a reminder, the email address for those of our viewers wanting to ask questions is pressclub2021@gmail.com. Thank you and God bless.
We do have some questions. How has the district monitored students' mental health during remote learning, and what does that reveal about how they're doing? And if I wasn't Mike, can you repeat it, please?
Yes. The question was, have we been monitoring some of the social emotional issues with kids, and what are we doing to handle that? So part of the services that we're providing out of our engagement center and some of the monitoring that we do, we have people who can work with those students. We still maintain our partnerships with Red Oak and many of the other mental health providers, and they've been really working with us during the pandemic. to make sure that we're taking care of those students who are having those issues.
What are some of the disparities that have been exacerbated by the pandemic?
Initially, there were some disparities in terms of who had internet access, and we did provide hotspots to families, actually delivered them to their homes, so there's internet access. We didn't really have to worry so much about technology because we've been a one-to-one district for many years. Every other place, we noticed that students who were, the grades are falling, which is why we implemented our after-hours support system for our students. So whenever we see and hear from a family that there's an issue, we have tried to come in and, meet their need.
This is a long one.
Uh-oh.
Many students are taking AP classes. If their families choose 100% remote learning option for the fourth grading period, how will this affect their classes, especially with regard to teachers, and what is the district's plan to keep them on track and prepared for their accreditation tests?
That's a difficult one to answer, but I would suggest that they talk to the building principal because there will be we do realize that there will be some specific areas that we're going to have a unique solution for. I think we can still support those students, but I would suggest that they talk to the principal at their, at their child's school, and we'll work through that.
Okay, this one's shorter, but it's from the same person. For families choosing for their students to return in person, will the schools provide information and classroom maps to those who haven't set foot in those buildings before?
Yeah, those are some really important things. So we're concerned about our kindergarten students, our sixth grade students, ninth grade students, because those are transitional years and many of them, they haven't been in school. So we do have plans to work through and provide, that type of orientation for those students when they come in. The other thing we have to realize is that until we get the actual survey information in from our parents, we don't know if it's going to be 50% of our students who want in-person instruction or whether it's 60% or 40%. So depending on what those numbers are, we'll have to formulate a response accordingly.
Moving to Columbus, Governor DeWine and the CDC both said that schools could potentially reopen after teachers have only received one vaccine shot if enough health protocols are in place. Why did you feel it was important to wait until the staff who wanted the vaccine could receive both doses to achieve immunity?
Well, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm going to play one on television today, but we've heard a lot of concerns from our staff about making sure they get the second dose. The other thing about humans is that all of our immune systems are not the same. Some people might take the first dose and develop a high level of immunity. Some may take a booster shot. Not to mention, the potential for some side effects after getting the second shot, which I have, heard could be the case. So we wanted to make sure we built a cushion in, so in case there were problems, those problems could be taken care of before students actually come into school. What we don't want to have is a bunch of people vaccinated come in too early, and then there's a problem.
You spoke about this a little bit in your speech, but I got another question from somebody out there in virtual land. What plan does Akron Public Schools put in place for students returning to school? What does the day-to-day plan look like for our children?
Well, the safety protocols haven't changed. The children will have to wear masks when they come in the building. We have retooled our nurses station, so there are, areas where kids can be isolated from each other. The way they will go into the building and come out of the building has been looked at and changed, and we're using that extended sanitation process that many of the hospital use with the fog spray, which lasts for up to 90 days. They won't see like the water fountains being used. We will have most likely those shut off. It will be a little bit different, but again, we're going to be following the same safety protocols that we had outlined very early: social distancing in the classrooms, and then just making sure that we're following whatever guidelines, or we're expecting some additional guidelines from the CDC, I think, tomorrow. So we'll be reviewing those.
You spoke about your optimism that Columbus would finally, after I don't know how many years, come up with a coherent plan to fund public schools. What do you see as the biggest hurdle in stopping that from moving forward at this point?
I think the biggest hurdle is really the philosophy that we see increasingly that students should take advantage of other operators who don't have to comply with the same rules that we do. If it was a level playing field, I might not have a problem with it, but it seems like more and more there are going to be some barriers, I think, in the Ohio Senate to getting that fair school funding bill passed, as it was in December.
Not many questions today, but I'll ask you, what's your one piece of advice that you're going to give to the next person who occupies your chair? Or maybe two pieces, you want.
No, it's just be calm, don't panic, listen to people. This is a very different community, and you can really take advantage of the access that you can have to people like the mayor, city council, our grant-making organizations. You're going to have a great platform for student success because of all the relationships that we have created. And those relationships took time and effort, but they're there. We have a chamber and business community that's interested because they realize how education is tied to our economy. So, I would say come in and really be patient, get a lay of the land, and really have a good relationship with, our board. That's really important.
Well, this will be the final question. You mentioned LeBron James quite a bit in your speech.
Yes.
You've worked closely with LeBron James and his foundation. And although his career is not as long as yours, can you tell us if he has asked you for any advice on when he should retire from the NBA?
No, he's in a whole different league than me, so I'm just going to stay in my lane. But I really can't say enough for the impact that he's had, and others, on our community. And that's what makes the Akron community really special. We're very fortunate to have some of the resources that we have in our community, and that's one thing, on a personal level that I really do appreciate.
Okay. Thank you for your speech today, sir.
Thank you.